All right, I'm Chad Smith calling the City of Rollingwood Park Commission meeting to order as of Monday, November 7th. We'll go ahead and call roll first. I'm Chad Smith.
I'm Laurie Mills.
Nicole Marisi.
Victoria Johnson.
Melissa Morrow.
Don Hudson.
And I think we'll have Mary Elizabeth coming to us shortly. Let's see. Start with citizens wishing to address the Park Commission for items not on the agenda will be received at this time. Please limit comments to 3 minutes in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. The Park Commission is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Citizens who wish to address the Park Commission with regard to matters on the agenda will be received at the time the item is considered. Do we have any public comments? You got a person there. That looks like a member of the public right there.
No problem.
We just called roll, you wanna say?
Mary Elizabeth Cofer.
Present and accounted for. All right, discussion and possible action on the minutes from the October 3rd, 2022 Park Commission meeting. Does anybody have any comments?
I think there was, someone mentioned that maybe that we didn't have the minutes right on the vote.
On the vote?
I reviewed it and Lori abstained. She just said,
Okay.
I don't know what to think about on this,
Okay.
and so she didn't vote either way. So
Well-
it was a 5-1 and.
Yeah, I just said I saw both points. I don't think
Right.
it should be as low as it is. I think there's some wiggle room there, but I did not agree with it being as low as it was. That was my sentiment. But I'll be prepared to vote today to get this put to bed.
But for the minutes, that's the only thing I was trying to figure out. So,
Oh.
so you abstained in that
Mhm.
moment, okay. Great, thanks.
How about it, are we good now?
Yeah,
Anybody wanna make a motion to approve the minutes?
motion to approve.
Melissa?
I'll second it.
Second it. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Approved. Next agenda item, update of city council action on turf pavilion rentals and adult fitness fee schedule. Ashley?
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to give y'all a quick update if y'all weren't able to catch the council meeting, and then Alex not here today to reiterate any of that, but the turf, council did vote to bring that back next month with more information, so, they had received some emails from commission members a little bit later in the game, so we tabled that, we'll be bringing it back at their November 16th meeting. Pavilion rentals, they agreed, and approved to move to weekday rentals as well. They still kept the 4 times a week limit though, I think, as the commission had discussed. So they took off the on non-school days. I think they felt like even if it was a school day and someone wanted to rent it, you know, why not? So just all yes to weekdays, we're good to go there. And we are in the process of updating our website to get all of those clear, but if anybody reaches out right now, we'll let them know that they can rent at that time. They also approved the new fitness rates for adult fitness, so we are bringing back next week to council, is that next week? It is. A fee schedule amendment to include that rate specifically for adult fitness classes, and then they did also want to bring that in January back to review at the city council level after a few months of just seeing how it goes. So
And that's at that like really low rate.
the
That's
tiered,
at $3.46 an hour rate.
yes,
And it's
right.
not coming back to Park Commission, it's just going to stay at the city council level.
I can go back and listen. I'm pretty sure they just said they wanted to re-review them, but I think that could be a discussion y'all have too if you'd like to talk about it before then and offer any kind of commission's recommendation. So, cool. All right. That's all I got. Unless y'all have any questions.
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Update from the Park Amenities Subcommittee.
We haven't gotten very far here. It took us a while to get together with Brian, and we actually have a meeting with him today at 1. And Victoria connected with Steve, and we're putting it all together, but at this point, we don't really have much of an update. We're just still making the connections.
Okay.
Who's Brian?
Brian Ryder.
Right.
Ryder, he's the chair.
With RCDC. He's the one that brought forth this idea.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will have something the next meeting.
Cool. All right, discussion and possible action on the park commission meeting day.
I don't know where this came from because last month I think we decided to keep it where it was.
I think that's right.
Tabled, I think that's why we put it on there. I think that we were gonna go back and y'all were gonna review schedules and see if there were other days that worked better for others.
I think you and I were trying to figure out if a Wednesday could work. A Wednesday at 1 o'clock I could do. I don't know if that's too late for everybody.
To start at 1,
Correct?
yeah, I'd have a conflict then.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just leave it there where it is.
Earlier in the day on Wednesday, I could do, but not.
Well, and then we were trying to keep it around the lunch hour, so it's either 11:30 or 12 o'clock, and I have a standing 12 o'clock appointment that's very difficult to change. It's been that way for 20 years. So I could do earlier, 9:30.
We'll just leave it where it is. Monday
I'd like to
morning.
leave it where it is.
So we tabled this last time we discussed it, so,
I do wanna throw out just a concept. We talked a little bit about not having meetings, in the summertime. And one of the things that I do think we miss out on by having daytime meetings is we don't get a lot of citizen input. And so I would just like to put it out there that maybe once a year or twice a year, we have an evening meeting. I'm just throwing it out there as a way to get more people that, you know, have different time. Or do it early morning, I mean, one of those. Again,
yeah,
I'm not
evening
talking
would
about,
bring more people.
yeah,
I would
I'm not
think.
talking about changing it for every month, but, just a thought.
You know, the last city council meeting I attended, the only person there other than city council members was Shanti. So, and I don't think Shanti has a problem with attending a meeting this time of day. So I'm just not sure that the time of day that we're having these meetings is prohibiting somebody from attending is my guess. I could be wrong, but
No, and I'm just throwing it out there if people felt like we're not getting enough participation. And it could be that we just do, like if we have something that's more, you know, like the turf or something that, or even adult activities or whatever, that we would like to get more input, we might consider having even if it's just a work session in the evenings occasionally. Anyway, we don't have to do that now, it's just a thought since we were discussing times.
So we're just leaving things as is, nothing to do there.
All right. Discussion and review of past park walkthroughs and procedures.
So
Is that another item we thought we had tabled?
I think so. I think last month it was requested to bring back the last few months of.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I wasn't here, so I was trying to go back
No.
and listen to it. But so what we did, we put the last 2 quarterly walkthroughs in there. These are the only two since Izzy, our new public works superintendent, has been here. So we've kind of been trying that process. I know before Vicky was a little more hands-on and a little more on call on those things, but unfortunately we don't have a dedicated staff to the park right now. We're still down a person in public works. So we brought the last 2 out to kind of just show what was sent in and how we're handling it. I apologize. I had put an item in the packet and forgot to refresh it, but we kind of summarized the most recent one in October and talked about they were on a path to maintenance and on a plan right now. There was some stuff about the bleachers and turf in the batting cage, and those are Little League or girls softball, so we're working with them right now to figure out a good schedule to keep those under you know, as much maintenance as they can be. Painting, things like that, exposed irrigation, working on getting mulch in here and working on the playgrounds as well. We've gotten some very expensive quotes for playground mulch that are unfortunately far out of our budget, and so we're looking to see what we can do on our own or supplement with some staff time. So
Well, the mulch is a very big concern because that's a safety concern, and I'm the one who did the last walkthrough, and that playground right here is in horrible shape. All the black paper underneath is showing, and especially where kids are coming down the slides or on climbing things. I mean, I don't know how we expedite that or
sure.
How expensive was the turf, not to interrupt you? Or
So
that mulch, sorry.
for those 2, we got a quote to, if we do them together, it's going to be about 28,000
Wow.
to do
Oh,
a
no,
full,
no.
to pull everything out, to pull out all the to start fresh, to completely. I think they've been bandaged, right, a lot in the past, and so currently we're obviously going to plan to get them up to standard right now, but we don't have the budget to do all of that.
Right.
Izzy did have a good idea. They have those big they're like mats that are a little they're not like the underground coming up paper or the fabric that comes out. Something like that. And so we're planning on putting those in the heavily trafficked areas under the slides, things like that. But we will try to get some more mulch on there. But even those, those came in at, together with those two, almost 20. But I think that's materials and labor. And I think that's a lot of hauling back and forth. So we're going to try to do that in-house for a lot cheaper. But we do want to completely rehab them. We did that upper park right before National Night Out, and it looked great. But it was a pretty expensive endeavor, and so
Have
they
we
had a
ever
little
looked
money.
into doing the rubberized turf where it's ADA compliant? Have we ever looked into something like
Like
that?
shredded tires, kind of
It's a-
rubbery stuff
Highland
like
Park
that?
did this with all their parks up north, where they took all the mulch out and then they make them ADA compliant, where anybody, with
Yeah, I feel like we might have a couple years ago, and maybe we revisit. I don't know if it might be a little pricier on the front end, but it also may not,
Doesn't require
disintegrate
Correct.
and run away like the rest of
Correct.
it does. So if that's something, and if it's already going to be pretty expensive, and we really want to do an overhaul, this is probably going to be something we need to budget for next year. But we'll definitely, they're on the schedule to get cleaned up in some way right now. So we'll do our best to either rake them more often and at least get that mulch to where it needs to go, so there's not so much exposed areas. But
One of the things that Vicky allowed on a walkthrough, I think with Mary Elizabeth and me, that spreading mulch was something that that was the easiest thing for neighbors and volunteers to do. So
Talking about It's My Park Day.
yeah, if the mulch arrived, I'd be happy to spend some time helping spread it.
sure,
It's-
absolutely.
And
Well,
the Boy Scout troop,
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh, yeah.
ask,
Yeah.
when does that, what time of year does that happen?
all year round, they need
Oh.
projects.
Well, I meant when they sell their mulch.
Well, and also, when it was It's My Park Day prior to COVID, we had them twice a year, it was in November and I wanna say in March or April. And so then they would dump the mulch and then we as the community would come together. And so that's probably something that we should probably revisit, trying to figure out how to incorporate those days again.
And that mulch was no charge to us.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Have you received any notice? Has anybody received a notice of It's My Park Day?
Phil used to
have
proactively seek that out, from what I recall, and I don't know from there what's happened.
Well, I feel like, Mary Elizabeth, you had a lot to do with that when I first joined the Park Commission. And it did used to happen twice a year, and then I feel like after COVID, maybe it went to once a year, or maybe we were just participating once a year.
We didn't have anybody willing to take it on. We need somebody that's willing to,
Coordinate with the
Coordinate.
city.
yeah, and to coordinate the volunteers. And
Well,
I
with
wasn't
Austin
willing to
Parks
do it
Foundation.
again. It's 2 years in a row. I needed somebody else from the Park Commission to step up, and nobody was willing.
Well, it could be something too, that we reach out to local high school students, because they do need volunteer hours, and say, if you'd like to organize this event and overlook it, if we as a committee do not have the ability to
I know,
do
it's
it,
us.
which
It
is
was us.
kinda sad, or maybe one of us can shadow with them to see if this is something.
But it's definitely worth doing, because we do get that free
Yes.
mulch, and that is, a huge expense we can,
Right. Avoid totally.
Yeah,
if we're-
avoid.
How do we get free mulch? How does that work?
Austin Parks
Who-
Foundation.
Who pays for it?
the Austin Parks Foundation.
Okay.
So what you do is you put in,
It's the Christmas tree shredding thing.
you
Oh.
put in a
And
request.
it's all the trees that they have to process.
And we
Let's
just,
make that a priority for us in the spring, is
and we
to
just missed
do
it
It's
for
My
this
Park
year.
Day.
It was last Saturday.
Yeah, I know, so we gotta do it in the spring, we just
Yeah.
missed this.
Great. Well, we'll try to get on a mailing list, and so we don't get those updates either. But if we could get on that one, maybe we can make sure it's on your January or February agenda, so we can start the planning process early. I think it's just about getting in and letting them know what we need,
Correct.
and making sure we have
The last little
volunteers.
tidbit that I had helped with that, it was, we had already identified all of the annuals and the shrubbery that we were wanting, and we were gonna put in a master list request for all of that, and then I think COVID happened at that point, and then it shut everything down. And so now it's just to the point of, how many cubic feet do we think we need of mulch? What areas do we want it? They'll drop it in one location, and then we disperse it with the wheelbarrows and the volunteer help, so.
and after it was done this last time, they just weren't aware. They learned. the hard way. You can't put mulch up to a tree, and that's why you need someone here with the scouts. That's a great idea having scouts, but they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
There have to be people here to
Supervision.
supervise. You can't put mulch up to a tree. You need a space of at least 6 inches or 8 inches, I'm not sure which, around the tree, that's safe from the mulch. Otherwise, it will rot the tree.
You know what would be great is if we, established we're gonna do this twice a year, we have a laminated sort of guidelines for how to spread the mulch. And so that, whoever's on the park commission in 3 or 4 years isn't reinventing the wheel. Like, I think there's so much that we can be doing to set ourselves up for future success if we would document things like this and make some things standard practice, like it's my park day. There's no reason why we shouldn't be participating and providing consistent guidelines for whoever's helping us, whether it be scouts or, adults who haven't
Right.
done it before.
Also, in the past, we asked people to bring their own tools because you don't want to lose tools. The Austin Parks Foundation gave us snacks. They gave us all kinds of things. I brought in water, 5-gallon water jugs, and had tables for water, keeping everybody hydrated.
And I think
But-
Randall's gave coffee and stuff too, didn't they?
I can't
Somebody did provide it.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was Panera or Randall's, but, making it a community event. We're talking about bringing in things to the park. Well,
We just need
we
more.
can
par-
bring
we-
food and drink and all that community stuff.
Yeah.
We're just asking for a little bit of work on their end.
I like your idea of getting this where it's historically somebody can
Yes.
refer to this. I just don't know how to do that personally. But I like that idea, but I do believe that if we're going to do this, we need several park commission members involved
Yeah.
physically on that day.
I would be willing to help document, but I don't know exactly what the content would be.
I would like to help with
Well,
some
why
of that.
don't you two put something together? I can clean it up and we can
Okay.
get something made.
Okay,
Okay.
we can put something together, and then you can critique it and,
Sure.
make some suggestions.
And make it pretty or whatever.
Okay,
So-
well, and you may have some more input for
Yes.
things that we need to include. Well, that's a good start. Let's do
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But remember we started with, we don't have enough mulch safety issue wise under
Yes.
over there.
Right.
Just
That was
trying to
my
get us back
number
to
one
focus.
concern.
Yes.
Right, so,
That may not be the mulch
Right.
for the April
yeah,
event, but
so,
yes.
I will definitely, let you know, we get this kitty mulch, I can't remember what it is, but it's specifically for playgrounds.
Okay.
I don't know if you can mix or whatever, but I'll at least give you where we usually get it, and we usually just buy it and have it delivered in bulk, kind
Okay.
of like what you were saying.
Sure, yeah.
And then we have ABC, basically take 2 or 3 guys for the afternoon and they just spread it.
Great, okay.
So again, I don't know if it'll be any less than that, but that's, at least it'd give you another bid.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to get a few more, and we can definitely, put in some staff time on it as opposed to, it's just when, it's if we want it done quickly, we might
Yeah.
need to contract it out and just get it
Yeah.
done. But if
Yeah.
we can devote some staff time to it, we will.
Yeah.
So great.
So that addressed your lower playground mulch, and then
Yes, and so if I'm looking back through that October walkthrough, that was a big one. Things like weeds on the walking trail, muddy spots on the trails, areas that are kind of just hard to grow grass. That spot over by the Gaga Ball pit, it's kind of just always bare, and it's muddy when it's raining, and it's just dirt when
There's
it's
a
not.
lot of
And so,
erosion.
right, and so
because the roof line on the pavilion doesn't have gutters or downspouts
And
because
we
of,
can't
and we
put
can't
gutters
put them in.
there. I've already
Correct.
looked into it.
So-
right.
So do we have
Yeah.
an option?
We were talking about increasing that French drain that's over there.
Mhm.
And I mean, we had worked with Vicky quite a bit on this, and she was very invested in how do we make that area look better. I mean, I've lived here for 20-something years, it's always kind of looked like that. I don't know whatever happened to her plans, but she was really good about kind of figuring out what we could put there. How do
Right.
we divert that water that is causing all that erosion? But
Mhm.
I don't know where it went from there, but again, everything that I had on my list are things that I have had on my list for every walkthrough of it.
Yeah, definitely understand, and we try to get to what we can, and we try to put on the maintenance list, but some things like that, if that's a bigger project where they might actually really need to design something and do things like that, they don't always have time to to take care of it, and so we just hope to chip away at it, but that one is a little more,
Do we have any
pressing.
neighbors who are engineers that could draw up a plan for water diversion from the pavilion roof? Do we know
Well,
of anybody?
Duke Garwood originally designed it, so that'd be a
Mhm.
great place to start.
Is
probably
he still a
good
resident?
spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think even landscape architect for some way to use like, to capture the water and to use it for plantings.
We had
Mhm.
actually talked about doing a water retention tank there,
Mhm.
but because we cannot get gutters and downspouts, there's no way to divert the water
Well,
to go
without
that way.
doing water retention so much as, gardens, where water goes to a specific garden where it catches the water and uses it for specific plants. I think a landscape architect could speak more to the kind of plantings you could put there. So if not an engineer, a landscape architecture a landscape architect might give us some advice.
Sarah Hudson is a civil engineer. She's awfully busy though.
Well, is it that we just need someone to come tell us what plants will work there? Is that
Well,
what
I
it
don't-
is?
It's a
It's-
water
it's a water
issue first
issue.
and
Okay.
foremost,
Right.
and then
Right.
it's, okay, so how do we then beautify
Minimize
that
it,
area,
right.
once we figure
Yeah.
out what we do with that water?
Correct.
And I think it's gonna take a combination of hardscaping and landscaping.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I would just say in general that that lower part just doesn't look maintained or, I mean, it is not up to the standards, I feel like, that it used to be. I
Are
don't
you
know if
talking
anybody's taken the
Over by
time to walk
the, beyond
around
the
there.
pavilion.
I'm talking about the
Even around the
pavilion
pavilion,
area, the
yeah.
park, the mulch, the walkway, just that whole area down there. I used to spend time there every day when my kids were little, but it just looks neglected.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I can't promise staff resources when we don't have them. You know, we've been down a person in that department for 2 years, and they do their best to get there when they can.
Yeah.
And so I think
I
it's
know
got
there's
to
a
be
lot of demand.
a combination of contract and whatever, and we just haven't had a lot of luck getting people for, small
Project.
jobs like that. It's like they kind of want the whole park as their contractor. They don't want to come do it. At least that's what I've been told from.
So what
past
what are
research.
we doing contracted down? We're
Nothing.
doing nothing
Nothing.
contracted.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
We used
even-
to have Cleanscapes when I
Yeah.
first started on the park commission.
Mm-hmm.
But they were doing upper and lower.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
there
almost
was
makes me
some
wanna go-
problems with that, and
It almost makes me wanna go back to them, just to take the pressure off these guys so they could do the other work.
Yeah, but it was
Or someone
$5,000
like
a month that we were
Was how
paying.
much?
Yeah.
$5,000 a month. that we were
5,000 a
paying.
month?
60 a year was about our
and I
contract
bet
with
it's
them.
more now.
Correct.
Right.
Which is why when we
Mhm.
brought Vicky on full time, is why we said, okay, we had this resources to be able to let Cleanscapes go, so that Vicky could, help with the fertilizing and the cutting and the weeding and the mowing.
Mhm.
And then, obviously, then we lost other city staff workers,
Right.
and so
Yeah, and even then, we've never really
got into a
recovered
schedule.
that extra person. We've
Right.
never had the full 4 in that department. It's a tough one to hire 4 and to retain.
Mhm.
So she was even never, always 100% park. If there's a water line break, they're all getting pulled and
Oh,
they're gone
right.
for a day and a half, and then it's
Well,
back to
So
those
how much
later.
is in your budget right now for that position?
We have an extra, I don't know, I'd have to look at the actual numbers, but probably just the same as another operator, so probably somewhere in that range. It's gonna, including other insurance and all of that.
In the 30
I think
to
it was
40
higher.
range?
I think it was 40 something.
Yeah, it's probably close. I would say maybe like 60 all in if we're
All in.
talking insurance and overtime and
So-
everything else.
So is it
you know.
possible for us to sign, since we haven't been able to hire that and doesn't look like that's gonna happen anytime soon,
Mhm.
can we do a 1-year contract or 6 months with somebody that'll come in and basically give that extra help?
Mhm.
Get it
Until
main-
we can
get it
hire
Yeah,
maintained.
until you can hire somebody. I mean, I'm fine,
Right, I
but
think
just
it'd
say,
be possible. It might be a council
Mhm.
action because they would need to, make a budget adjustment to take it from personnel over to a contractual service. But I think we'd be on board with that. It was just I know we weren't happy with Cleanscapes. That's
Yeah.
why we moved
Right.
away in the first place. And so you do lose some of that oversight, but you also can't oversee something that's not happening. So
But I
it's kind
do
of a
see some different trucks in the neighborhood that if they're already doing work at our neighbors' properties, maybe they'd be willing to come and spend a couple hours when they come each week or every other week to work in the neighborhood already.
Mhm.
And
That's
I can give you
possibility.
2 names that I see all the time, and I'm happy to do that, but how do we take this to council to say, can we use those funds to better maintain our park, since we, you know, staffing is so hard these days?
I
Yeah,
think we
you-
would
you
need
have
a
to have a
plan.
plan. I mean,
Right.
you need
A proposal.
you need a map and a list of things that need to be done, and
They could do what they did before. I mean, all these things that we're talking
Yeah,
about,
these are-
all these things, everything from the grass in the trail, the weeds in the trail, all these things, this is what they used to do.
Yeah.
And that's why it's an issue now, because the staff can't keep up with it. They can go back to doing what they were, we get somebody to do what Cleanscapes was doing before.
Yeah.
At least hire them, as Melissa was suggesting, on a 6-month basis or contract, while we hopefully hire somebody else. I think it's better that than to not get something done. And when you think about it, we're going into winter, and our staff is going to be busier than ever with downed tree limbs and issues that weather brings on.
Right.
So, is it possible to get what we hired Cleanscapes to do prior? Like, is there a list?
Their
of-
list, I'm sure
Can
we
we
have
see
their
that, and then
contract,
if you
yeah.
can tell me how, or us, how we take this to council, I'm happy to help put that together.
Sure, yeah, let me do some research on that, and then potentially those other ones in the area, like you said.
Yeah.
I know Vicky had done some pretty extensive
Yeah, I gave her a lot of
searches,
names,
and most places were like, unless we got it all, we don't, you know,
But I
we don't
think
do
if
a
they're in
couple
the
hours.
neighborhood already, maybe we have a better in
Mhm.
for just a little extra work for them.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and if we signed
keeping
a
up with
contract
it.
where we basically said, we're gonna spend 10 grand or 5 grand with you, or 3 grand, 3,500, what can
Mhm.
you do for 3,500 every month? How many hours can you give us?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, something like that.
Yeah, of course. We'll dig up the Cleanscape stuff. Send us any other vendors you know of or anything, and we'll try to pull together some quotes before next meeting, and we'll go from there. We'll have to go to council for sure, but if it's a well thought out plan that is going to relieve some of the issues that it's causing staff, I think it's a good
Would it
route.
be helpful to meet with Izzy, like to know what is it that he can't get to?
I think possibly. I think the thing is, I think we're pretty well aware of what we can't
Okay.
necessarily get to. It's just
Okay.
a matter of we just don't have the time.
Yeah,
You know, it's
sure.
that there are things they always make sure they do, the mowing when it needs to be done, things like that. They might happen very last minute, and it might be we have to squeeze it in on a Friday, but they'll get to those things. But it's those other, you know, wish list projects that we see them, we would love to take care of them, but we just don't always get to it. So I
But
think it's
it
a lot
may
of the
be
basic
flip.
maintenance.
It may be that it's easier to hire out the mowing
Mm-hmm.
and so then you don't have to, y'all don't have to do the mowing, you do the projects, cause those are
Exactly.
more one-offs.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're basically saying, okay, the mowing's gonna get done by this company, you never have to do that again.
I think that's where it'd be really helpful. It'd be those
Yeah.
things that you don't have to. There's not design involved. There's not. It's just take care of these.
Yeah,
And
common
that's what
maintenance.
Cleanscapes used to do.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And then the other thing that I noticed is what bad shape the picnic tables are in.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something we could go to the women's club? I know
Mhm.
they love to do something
Yeah.
tangible,
Mhm.
and to me, those picnic tables look terrible.
What about the gentlemen's club? They did it one time.
They typically do the police benevolence stuff, and it's normally the women's club that likes to do something for the parks that is tangible, visible to
Yeah.
others that they can put their
Yep.
name on.
I know,
So-
they did the butterfly garden for me this last year, and we're getting ready, hopefully, to get benches and so forth from them. But the gentlemen's club did do the tables before. So they might also be willing to do that, not just the police benevolent fund. If someone has a contact with them, it's certainly worth asking.
Well,
Absolutely.
I definitely agree with you. I know the Women's Club always wants to have a list of
Yes.
things, so I think we put that on there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And do you know if that repair of the metal on the baseball seating, there was a piece that was off and it had rough metal on it? Do you know if
Mhm.
that was fixed?
Steve sent me a note about that and said that he had gone through and replaced 4 or 5 end caps a couple of years ago, and he'd be more than happy to do it again if the city didn't want to do it. He doesn't know if maybe they weren't screwed in properly or why they're not.
Yeah, it might have just
Staying
been
better.
something you could have put on it. It's just a safety.
Yeah,
They don't
maybe we
screw
got
in.
the slightly wrong.
They don't
Pop
screw
on.
in, they slide on, and I put one on this morning, and there was another one lying on the ground. I didn't get to it because I was running late. I think they're gonna have to find some other way to make them attach they literally slide on.
Maybe-
They're not
maybe some
staying on,
glue.
and kids mess with them.
Yeah,
I think some sort of adhesive.
okay. Yeah. Steve said he'd work on it if we need it.
We need him to, because I think it's very dangerous. Those are sharp
Yeah, they're
edges.
very
That's why
sharp.
I'm always attaching those.
No, I agree.
Can you talk to Steve about
Uh-huh.
that? That'd be great.
Did Steve also, say anything about the replacement of the matting inside the batting cage that looks all chewed up and?
No, he
I
didn't.
sent a picture of that.
He
Yeah, I
didn't-
see it
We
there.
got that picture.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we haven't talked about it.
That's one that, you know, I think we'd be willing to come and cut a straight line and at least get rid of
Yeah.
the stuff, but if it's gonna keep breaking, it's not gonna
Mhm.
really fix
Yeah.
the problem, and so we're happy to kinda help, and we always try to, you know, put those back on, those little end caps when we see them, but if they're gonna keep falling off, it's just not, you know, long term, so.
Have we ever found out what's going on with this Tai Chi group and why they don't have a commercial?
We have. So we've actually been working with them recently. They have other locations where they charge for their Tai Chi. So they have people who do pay
Sounds
memberships
familiar.
in other locations. At this location, they take walk-ups and nobody pays, generally, unless they're paying members for the other location. And so if they go to their other classes, you know, and he's come in and he said, I'm gonna do whatever you guys want. I just want you to know that, like, I don't charge these people. We have people in the neighborhood who come up and just have never paid. And we've actually, that's what they've told us when we've talked to them, and we kind of always thought, like, yeah, okay, you know, sure. But the members themselves have said that, and so we thought about figuring out, we're trying to determine if he's a commercial use. And so I kind of think our answer is, well, you are saying Rollingwood Park on your website. And so if you're going to do that, then it kind of becomes a commercial thing. So I'm still kind of working with him. He's come in and said, I'll do whatever you guys need. We love being here, but just so you know, I don't turn away anybody, and nobody has to pay if they don't want to. And so they're not taking up a field. You know, they'd move if someone said we have an activity here, is kind of his comments about it. So, you know, we'll still talking to him. We can bring him in to do kind of a discussion.
Which
But-
agenda item are we on?
We're still on the park
The park
walkthrough. That was
walkthrough.
part of
Okay,
my,
I was just checking.
that was what I
Yeah.
sent,
Yeah,
was
yeah.
that group, when I first started doing park walkthroughs, was maybe 6 people.
Right.
It is now
Mhm.
15.
Oh, yeah.
They bring their dogs. They are a large group, and
Right. Yeah.
And
like
they
I
pay
said,
membership
he
at other
said
locations.
he'd be willing to pay, and it looked like he'd fall in the group by the amount of classes he does and the people he has. He'd be paying $20 a class. He is where he'd fall even with the new rates, because he's a smaller group than Ignite. He has, I think, up to 10. He said if he's above that, it would obviously be more, but because he only does 2 a week, that's where he'd fall. And so he was like, I understand that
So
y'all
he's
have
paying
rates.
more than Ignite, $20 a class, where Ignite's paying $3.46 a class.
That's where he would fall in the new rates.
And
Yeah.
last time I saw his class, it was fewer than 10.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very big at all.
So
Which-
if we're on agenda item 1, I think that's fine to talk about adult fitness.
Okay.
But I don't think this is, I mean,
Okay.
I don't
But it's
mind.
part-
It was
part
a
of
pi-
Lori's
it was a
walkthrough.
picture in the walkthrough that
yeah,
we're just
the
responding.
walkthrough,
Yeah,
but we're now talking about rates of what we're charging people, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm just saying.
You're right.
We just should be on
yeah.
the right agenda
Let's,
item.
let's
I just want to
stay
let
on-
you. We did reach out to them. We're working with him. He's very willing to work with us.
And there's
we
multiple
just
groups
haven't-
that are meeting up there, not just them.
on
There's a
the-
couple of different men's workout groups.
Okay.
You're probably aware of that, but,
Yeah, that's the only one we've
Batting
really been.
cages.
yeah, up at the top pavilion.
Okay. That's the only one we've ever generally been aware of, and they've always had the same story. And again, he's willing to work with us. You know, I think he would do it to stay here. So we're gonna.
So are we
continue that
putting
with
this on an agenda item for next month then to discuss how we're going to charge him? Because this would be very contradictory to what just passed for Ignite. So
Mhm.
should we put that on for the agenda next month?
It's actually on the city council's agenda right now, right?
No,
No, the adult rates.
it's on the fee amendment, the fee schedule amendment in accordance with what they did last week.
And it's coming
last
back in
month.
January.
It will be brought back for review in January, yes. But this is a different case. We still haven't quite, we're trying to figure out whether he's commercial and where we think he falls as a business or not. But
Does he have a name that we could refer to him by?
he does. I'll have to find that website and send it out.
Perfect.
He did fill out a form. He was just having issues with the online form, and he's come in multiple times. He's like, I want to resolve this. I know that we're up there all the time, and I want to do it. So
That's
we're
great.
working with him.
So thank you.
That's all I have on the walkthrough, if that's all you guys have.
Anybody else? Nada? All right. Move to the next agenda item, number 7. Discussion and possible action regarding park expansion to the north of the swim facility. Let me preface this by saying that Don and I and a former Parks Commission member visited this about maybe 9 months ago.
Who was the former, was it Phil?
No,
Oh, it was,
Lori?
Jennifer Myers.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
And we got a bid that was like $15,000.
This guy roughed it in at 25,000, which was ridiculous.
25,000.
That
Yeah.
included building steps
Yeah.
and handrails and cleaning out the trees, the unwanted trees,
Yeah.
and mulching and all that.
And what, would this be ADA compliant? I can't see us adding onto our park, but it's not ADA compliant.
What Chad's talking about is, well, go ahead, Chad.
Yeah.
Your proposal, or your, what you.
So when I noticed there wasn't much on our agenda, I reached out to some friends and I found a guy. And Ashley, I sent you a couple of emails.
Yes.
Did you get them?
Yes, let me put them in the document real quick, and I'll put them in the packet and then pull them up.
So all I'm looking to do is just to clear out the area to the north of the swim center a little bit and see what we have, because it's completely overgrown and there's some beautiful oak trees down in there. And if you walk down about 10 steps, all of a sudden it levels out and it is really kind of pretty down there. So I found a guy who's got a land clearing machine, and Ashley's going to pull it up here and put it on the deal, but he's willing to work for very cheap. I'm going to have him do some work on some ranch work that I have, but he's more than willing to come out here and help clear out some of the underbrush that we don't want down there, and just to see what it looks like.
I would like to have an arborist or someone look at some of that before you do any clearing, just to make sure what exactly we're removing,
No, I understand.
especially since we do have drainage issues.
Yeah. So it's something that he's willing to do at $200 an hour, and he thinks in 7 hours he can have it all cleaned up. So it would be $1,400. And we would clean up all the underbrush, clean up all the trash that we don't want down there, and see if we have some beautiful, area where people can put up park benches.
This is part of the master park plan as well. If we pull that up, there's that low level you're referring to over there that could potentially be into some type of a natural scape
Yeah.
area for.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. We walked it this morning together. He said, yeah, I can get my machine down there. I can get this done. This is what I do for a living. He said this would look amazing. And I asked him for that quote. He gave it to me. I asked him for some pictures, and it just happened this morning, so I'm still getting some information, but I just sent some from my phone over to Ashley.
And when we looked at doing this corner, we kept trying to focus on how to make it ADA compliant. How would you make that ADA?
For now, I'm not worried about ADA compliant. I just want to see what we have.
Okay.
And
There wouldn't even
what's
be a stairway.
what's down there.
You can
He could possibly
muscle that.
create a gradual slope down to it,
Mhm.
and he said he'd be more than willing to. I don't know how much that would cost.
Is your
But-
goal, I'm sorry, go ahead.
For now, it's just to clear out that space, just to see what it looks like, and see if there's any potential there to do something down there.
Is your goal to make this a picnic area kind of place that people can just enjoy, like trails and stuff? Or is your ultimate goal, honestly, to move the dog park there?
It's honestly, I just want to clear it to see if it's a place where if the ballpark are full of baseball going on and you just want somewhere to escape and go read a book, that it's cleaned up a little bit.
Okay.
And it's not like a place where, it's so thick back there that if kids go walking down there, you can't see them anymore. Right now there's a kids fort down there that, I'm sure there's nothing nefarious going on down there, but it could be. And if we cleared this out, we could just see what we have in this, 1 to 2 acres.
There's some beautiful trees down there.
So
Well, and a
Ashley's got
shady place in the summertime.
Yeah.
a
just
shady
to
place
be-
in the
I think that's
summertime.
awesome.
If we cleared it out and put a park bench down there and just said, hey, this is a spot for solitude.
So
Um,
if the council, this is just right north of the pool, right?
Correct.
So if the council approves the expansion of the tennis courts, are they gonna have to get on that property to
No.
do that work at all, on the park property?
No, that's separate.
So
That wouldn't come onto the Rollingwood Park, the tennis
Well,
court
no, I
thing.
understand the courts wouldn't, but would the equipment that they have to use to build those courts be using part of that area?
No.
I don't
they-
know.
I don't think they can.
I don't know the answer to that.
I would ask the club to see what their plans are for access.
Yeah, they would,
I don't
they
know.
don't have really, you're right, there's not really great access to that lower part of the pool area.
So if
But
you look,
we could always just say, no, you can't drive your
Yeah.
equipment across the park, and then it's their problem.
I would just wanna make sure that whatever is done down there isn't demolished by
Mhm.
other equipment
Mhm.
coming in to build courts.
well, I think if it's our property and they want to come onto there to build those courts, we're gonna have to grant them permission. And as part of that permission, we'll say you have to restore the property that you come across in the same condition. And one thing I want to make clear, at least for now, I'm not trying to create something that requires maintenance. Okay? This is going to be an area we're just going to clear and see if, there's a beautiful oak canopy down there and some relatively flat land, and we'll keep it native everything, not talking about adding any type of grasses or sod or artificial turf or anything.
Just see how people use it.
Just to see if people would use it and to see if it would make a nice place to put a park bench and be shady in the summertime.
I think it's great.
So,
You know something, I realized, I don't know which way the water flows, but part of that is a wash. When you go towards Rollingwood Drive, down there it starts climbing, but it flattens out so much there. Is the wash closer to the fences on the houses?
there is a little, looks like a ditch or a creek
A
down
little creek
there.
bed?
And we wouldn't be touching
Okay.
the ditch or the creek bed. So
Okay.
the drainage would not be affected one iota. It's still got a ditch there that takes everything out of there.
It wouldn't be that
And I
much
think
either.
the fact that we're not trying to build anything down there,
Yeah.
so let's say that, because there is a lot of drainage that goes in that direction, you can walk along a trail and you can see it. But since we're not trying to build anything down there, if it's wet, you just don't go.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Especially, for now. And
Yeah.
with nothing down there, it's just clear it out and see what we have and see if it's something that we want to turn into whatever. And maybe we clear it out and it does nothing but help those oaks thrive because they've got tons of cedar down there and other things that just suck all the water away from them. And maybe we can create, a better habitat down there, if nothing else. But Ashley's got it pulled up now. That's an example of some clearing that this guy has done recently. And then that's his tractor. It's
You're gonna
pretty-
get that down there?
Yep.
Where? Where are you gonna take that?
It's a track
down?
machine, it'll go.
It's
I
a
know.
track machine, it'll go, but he said I'll just create a little slope down the hill, and he goes, this is very doable, and y'all will be amazed at how much better this looks.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about the trees, which trees does he go between, but
No, we've got space.
There's kind of a big opening right where the road turns.
And y'all
There aren't
mentioned
trees.
mulch. If we did this, he would
Oh, yeah.
mulch everything, and that's what it would look like.
Great.
I think that'd be a nice addition to the park.
Yep.
I like that idea.
Yep.
I've been down there a lot just hiking, as part of my
Yeah.
exploration, and it's a nice area.
So, I don't know if this has to go in front of city council before we can get it approved or not.
Probably
just take it there for funding.
For funding?
Right, or, you know, to get an approved budget amendment. If there was other funding for it, that would also be helpful if it was like, hey, we have a way of.
I think I can find other funding for it.
I don't think
So-
that we can go in there with that thing and clear that out without city council.
We're the Parks Commission.
Right, the project would probably have to be
Shoot.
approved, but just.
Do what?
I think the project would definitely have to be approved by council, but however it is, either it's for sure by
We're the Park
funding,
Commission.
We're the
But I
Parks
think-
Commission.
definitely.
Yeah.
Is
So-
this the type of thing that RCDC might?
Yeah, I think they
Fine.
might help, and I think
mean, it's
there are
not
other
maintenance.
groups that would help. It's $1,400.
Yeah.
We'd have
It's-
to confirm if, for RCDC, there are specific things that they can and can't fund, and it has to do with new and expanded business and development, but we also have some other options since we're a community development corporation, some quality of life things, but it would just all have to be run through the city attorney and the RCDC attorney, just to make sure it falls within what they're allowed to spend it on.
But this is minimal. I mean, it's not much expense. So
Mhm.
that
No.
I'm not worried about. I just don't think that we can go in there and with this equipment without their approval. But I think getting the money.
Maybe the
RCDC
Gentlemen's Club can fund it, since they like to do kind of rough and tough type things. Who knows?
I've not seen them do anything other than the police benevolence lately, but, yeah, it's worth a call.
It may be they just need an idea.
So,
I'm not worried about the funding.
I know.
yeah, I would be
know.
worried, here's what I would be
It'll
worried about.
it'll be funded.
It will be.
What I want to do is just take some action.
Yeah.
And
So,
go ahead.
what I was gonna say is, what I imagine people are, what she's articulating is that the concern will be that you're going in there and bulldozing trees.
Yeah.
So I think if we went in there and we put a pink tag around all the trees that are staying and which ones are not,
Yeah.
take a picture of it and say, this is what we're doing, and we're gonna spend $1,400 and we're gonna make, then I would support that motion.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I want to.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna go tag the trees?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
With
So
your
do we-
help.
Do we need? a
Telling me
motion?
which
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
are good and which ones are bad, because I'm going to hit all the oaks.
I want an arborist.
Well,
Do you
that's
know
an
an
added
arborist?
expense.
Yep.
So keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
You could probably get $100 would get an arborist, I would think, to, I mean, 30 minutes of.
Do we have a
time.
tree survey from eons ago in that area?
I'm sure we do.
So wouldn't the tree survey
pull that up.
identify the type and species?
Should.
Would they
So-
have done it down there, do you think?
That's a good
If
question.
it was part
If
of the
it's-
master plan, I would assume they
Yeah.
should have.
Yeah.
I'll see what we can dig up. I'll send it to you, and then
Cool.
whoever your subcommittee of tree tagging is, then.
I just
I wanna
want
get
the
it in-
playground mulched before that area is mulched.
Can he take the mulch from there and put it there?
Well, he
No,
can
it
take.
takes
He'll be
the
grinding
time.
up
He can
trees.
they
Right.
can
He'll
mulch
make that from
that
the
area
brush.
with the trees that and stuff
Perfect.
they take
Right.
out.
I,
So I
yes.
don't think you're gonna need to buy extra mulch.
The playground mulch, it's not a different mulch.
I thought your playground mulch had to be rubber mulch or something.
I think it might.
I
be
don't
a
know, I
special
just wanna
one.
make sure my playground is done
Yeah.
before
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
it
You
is-
know how I feel about this.
Yeah, it is different mulch.
Yeah,
No,
I do
agree.
think it
I
is
think that
some
needs to be a
specific,
priority.
Yes.
I agree.
It's 100% a priority. It's going to get ordered either way, up to how much we can afford of it. We'll
Yeah,
make
he's-
sure those are
he's not
taken
gonna
care of.
He's not gonna
So.
bring in mulch, he's gonna mulch the
Create the mulch.
He's going to
from
grind the trees
yeah,
that he
perfect.
knocks down and
Yeah.
turn them into
That will
mulch.
be the mulch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, it's just his labor and whatever it costs to get an arborist to look at things and.
I don't personally think we need an arborist, but if it's necessary, it's necessary.
How about,
Um,
I'll go down there with you and we can tag the trees and then we can ask her to come down and say, are you happy with the trees we've tagged?
Yeah.
And then,
If we can identify which.
I think
what
it's gonna be
some of the
really
trees
obvious.
are.
I think when
I
we
think
get
it's
down
gonna
there,
be
it
I
sounds
think
like
it's
super
super obvious. There's a
Yeah.
bunch of trash brush down
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
and there's
As
a
long
bunch
as we
of
can
awesome
identify what
trees.
each tree
Yeah,
is,
we
perfect.
will.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
think there should be a tree survey in that master
Yeah.
plan.
I'm sure we have one. How up to date it is, but I mean, I'm sure
And
it's
then
pretty
we'll bring
close.
a
I think
motion
it's
to
going
the
to be
next
obvious.
meeting.
Yeah.
What you want to keep.
I'm going to make a
in your
motion right
area.
now.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to make a motion that some sort of a committee of me and Melissa and Mary Elizabeth go down and tag the trees, and then we propose to the city council that we want to go through and do some cleanup down there. at a cost of $1,400. And I want Ashley and Gavin to sign off on everything that's gonna be done as far as the trees and which ones were taken out and anything like that. And once approved by the city council and by Ashley and Gavin, that we move forward.
I think that's a lot for one motion, isn't it?
It's a motion.
It's fine.
I second,
No.
I second that motion.
It's very
Did I
specific.
cover everything
You
that
did,
needs
that's,
to be
it's very
covered?
specific, and it leaves,
That we are not adding anything else.
We're not adding any maintenance per Lori.
I just want
understand
to
that.
make sure that's in there.
I understand that, but I also,
Can we break that into a couple of motions, like?
Why?
I just want one motion in
Yeah.
front of.
You wanna
It's
say
basically a
anything about
motion to
funding?
spend
In your motion.
$1,400
And
to
get city
clear-
approval.
to clear out,
And,
to clear out that area. To
Yeah.
clear
Identify the
Clean
trees,
up.
clear out the
Yeah, to
area,
clear out.
and then
With
he
the,
wants
we will identify
a
trees.
rubber stamp for what?
He just wants city council
Trees.
approval of what we're doing. That's it.
I understand we need city
Well,
council
yeah,
approval
apparently
for
we're
this
not.
project, and then once we get city council approval, then Ashley and Gavin go down there and kind of work with this operator, tell them what we want done, and I'll be with y'all. And,
Okay, I get that now, alright.
and just get it done.
Can I confirm this will go to the November council meeting, right? It's not coming back to Park first?
It's
No.
not coming back to park.
No, please put it
We're
on there
gonna
and
make
let's
things
knock it out.
happen quicker around
Yeah.
here.
And funding will be taken care of either by the RCDC or the Rollingwood Gentlemen's or the Rollingwood Women's.
Someone has to take it
or-
to these departments to get that. So who's gonna do that?
Well,
If-
for now, I just let the budget, it just goes into the parks budget, or amendment to the parks budget, and then if you get a donation, great, but don't worry about it.
It doesn't matter to me. If I have to
Do
do
you want to
this, I'm
say
gonna do
funding
this.
to be determined?
Yeah, funding to be
I mean-
determined, and we'll, if we can't get funding, then we're not gonna do it.
So
that's
it's-
an obvious.
But somebody has to seek out that funding, so who's going to
I'm
do
go-
that?
I'm going to seek
Okay,
out that
you're gonna
funding.
seek it out.
That's me.
Okay, that's what
Yes.
I'm looking for.
Why don't you restate the
Oh,
motion?
shoot.
Just-
Just bullet it. It's to clear out the facility.
I would like to
north
make
of
a
the pool.
motion that,
Wait, you already
Melissa-
made a motion, so are you amending your motion now?
Do you wanna
I
read
don't
us
know.
back the motion? Can you read us back the motion?
It was Chair Chad Smith moved to create a committee, himself, Melissa Morrow, and Mary Elizabeth Colbert to tag the trees and propose to city council. The park commission would like to do some cleanup at a cost of $1,400 with funding to be determined. And wants Ashley and Gavin to sign off on the trees removed, and once approved, go to city council. And will not be adding any maintenance. I have to clean up that last language
Yes.
there.
There you go.
I'll second it.
And I would just add that Chad is seeking the
Yeah,
funding.
I'm gonna
That's
seek
the
it.
only thing we're adding.
Yeah.
I'm in charge.
Do you want that part of the motion, or just
Yes.
that can be part of the minutes?
Yeah, I
Either
will,
way, it doesn't.
I will seek out the funding. That's my motion. Anybody wanna discuss it?
Melissa seconded, I believe.
Yep,
Seconded?
discussion.
Alright, everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Say nay. Alright. Number 8, discussion of intent to continue to serve on the Park Commission.
Alright, this is our annual item, to talk about those whose terms are expiring. Pulling it up right now, it looks like as of right now, Mary Elizabeth, Victoria Johnson, and Chad, all three of y'all's spots are, expiring. And this is one of those weird instances where you just got on the commission, and so people don't normally take them over exactly at the 2 years, and so we don't normally hold that first half of a term or whatever it is against you, so this will technically be your first term if you wanna continue serving. But also same goes for everyone who's on the commission. If anyone, it's a good chance to say yes or no, I wanna keep serving, and then we will forward these names on to city council, and then they will do, generally like a blanket approval of everyone who wants to continue serving, so just looking for
I have a
verbals.
question.
Sure.
Is the length of a term on the park commission like 2 years?
2 years,
Okay,
yes, and they're staggered, so 3 are up this year, 4 will be up next year,
okay.
so. And generally, unless anyone, we don't have anybody on this commission, but it's a 3-term or a 6-year, one of those ways to get it to the 6-year term limit. They generally consider extensions of those two if people are interested in to continue serving past their 6 years. So there's not a long line waiting to join or something. They've been known to do that. So, but we don't have anybody in that position right now. Just looking to make sure everyone wants to keep going, and then we'll forward those names on to City Council. So we have Mary Elizabeth, Victoria, and Chad are our immediates. Y'all want to stick with us?
I'm fine with sticking around.
Same here.
All right, wonderful. We'll pass those on, and they'll be considering and making that motion probably at their December meeting. So you'll have another 2 years. So that's all we got.
And what's the term limitation of all of us?
6.
I think it's 6 years. It's either 3 terms or 6 years. I think it's a 6-year. So.
All right. Discussion regarding communication of incoming and outgoing members.
So I put this item on the agenda. I'll make it quick. I know y'all are speeding through your agenda today. I wasn't here last month, and I know that was kind of a discussion about when there's new members, how the commission is updated, how we're keeping y'all apprised. I know there was discussion also about putting this on the agenda for council next month, when the new council comes in to talk about how they select their members. I just wanted to add some clarity from the staff side and say that if there's anything that we can be doing better, we can be a lot better about updating you guys of resignations, new applications, that kind of thing. It's something that we don't do it for every board and commission, so we just need to get in a better habit of keeping y'all apprised. I don't know if that necessarily solves the bigger question that y'all want to take to council in November, but I wanted to let y'all know that we could do a better job of letting y'all know who's on the list to serve, you know, when they're going to be considered at council meetings, and when someone gets appointed or resigns. So.
And I do think there needs to be some sort of, like when Victoria joined, she just was thrown into a meeting. She had no like, oh, well, you need to watch the last 3 park commission meetings, or here's some information that's helpful for you to know, or let me connect you with one of the other members on the commission to get up to speed. She walked in with no prior knowledge or understanding of sort of what the hot topics were or what's been happening in the commission. So I do think there needs to be some sort of onboarding or familiarity with, you know, recent events and topics.
I definitely agree. I really liked the idea you said about us hooking them up with another another park commission member. Sometimes it's just we might have a lot of in and offs on boards and commissions, and you know, there's always past meetings and stuff, but we don't always have those orientations. And so if there's anyone, I know we normally copy the chair, but if there's someone else who wants to kind of step in that role, we could even reach out when you have a new council or a new park member and say, just so you know, this person's coming on. If anybody of you want to reach out to her and talk to her about what's
Right, I
know.
think it's all part of one communication is, hey, Jennifer's resigned, we're looking for another member, here are the 2 that are in the slot or in the queue or whatever, and who is willing and has the time in the next 2-3 weeks to sit down with this new member and, you know, just
Which that was
bring
the
them up
issue,
to
is that there's
speed.
not 2 or 3 weeks. It was a resignation, and a week later, somebody's appointed. A resignation,
Right.
appointment, a resignation, appointment. All 3 people within less than a year, and that's the challenge, is that the residents at large don't know what's happening. The commission members at large don't know what's happening. And then all of a sudden, newness comes, and nobody's aware of anything going on, so.
yeah, so just
Right,
more
yeah.
communication.
We'll
So-
definitely do our best from our end.
And I
to
would be
better
happy to
about that.
like do a walkthrough with, if there was a new person. That'd be fun, actually.
Sure,
I'm at
sure.
the park every day anyway.
Yeah, we'd love to have someone that we can say, like, here's your, you know, best source of knowledge from the commission. They'd be happy to update you. So we'd love to do that. Mary Elizabeth, if you want to take on that.
Sure, that way
volunteer
maybe I
spot.
could get a volunteer for the
Yes.
butterfly garden.
Yes, but we'll do our best. I will say we aren't always, some of those are the kind of things that fall to the wayside when other stuff is going crazy in City Hall. And so we do try to, but we'll be a lot better about that. And so I don't know if that alleviates any of the, you know, what we want to bring to council. I think it was a question of how people are appointed. That's really all totally just their discretion, and so there's not really a process. There really hasn't been generally, so just wanted to see if that helped or added any clarity.
Yeah, and I mean, I almost think we may be the best people to advise, at least for Parks Commission, what that would look like. So, only because I'm, again, having watched this for 20 years at City of Rollingwood, you know, each council basically gets to decide how they're gonna do that. So you have some councils who leave spots open for 6 months, and some councils that, you know, appoint people immediately.
Mhm.
And so, but if we want to make it a better experience for people going forward, I think we, kind of like you do for your new hire checklist, I think we could take, you know, 20 minutes at one of our meetings and say, what are the 10 checklist things that we hand to a new member, and we say, here's, and again, it's kind of putting it in their hands, like, here are all the things we think you should know. So, and here's the people you can go to get that, because it will be very hard for a staff person or any of us individually to make sure that volunteer training happens. But I think that's a great idea. I mean, just say, hey, these are all the, yeah, you should at least watch the very last Parks Commission meeting on video, and here's where you can find it, and here's the agendas from the last year of meetings. You know, I mean, all of that stuff is there, but if you don't literally put it in a packet and hand it to the person, I mean, y'all know, I mean, how many trainings have you been to?
Right. Scattered everywhere, and
It's really hard, so.
agreed. We love that idea, and we're happy to help facilitate getting those out and shared with people, even as they're, you know, applying, if they,
Wow.
you know, if they're applying to be on a board or commission, and we can do a better job of letting y'all know who's in the queue. They do just sometimes, one might crop up the night before a council meeting, and then they're considering that application the very next day, and so they might be appointed, so.
Well, we understand there will be exceptions.
Sure.
Thank you very
Great.
much.
Okay, great. I do wanna confirm, do we still want that item on the council agenda on this coming month? I know there was talks about putting it on the November agenda with the new council.
Well, I wasn't sure if Alec had mentioned to wait until January after the council is set for that, when is their first meeting after council is
It will
appointed?
be November, so they're gonna actually the new members will be sworn in at the November meeting, so in a couple weeks, so we will
I'm
have
happy to go ahead,
everybody.
I'm happy to, if everybody agrees to move that forward to council, I'm happy to speak, or whomever else wants to speak on that behalf to go, because,
Okay,
Go for it, Nicole.
okay,
okay.
I'm sorry to bug out.
We'll keep
Nope.
it on there and we'll let
Thanks.
Alec know, so he's
Okay.
ready to speak to it as well.
All right.
Alright, that's all I
Any
got.
further issues? I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second? Anybody opposed?